Welcome to KTN News, live from Alaska, where the truth is revealed. Do you think being a kid is tough? Try being first kid, child of the American president. President Donald Trump's 10-year-old son Barron has been the target of some unkind treatment. Barron is not the first kid to suffer in the spotlight. An example is 9-year-old Amy Carter. The media attacked her for reading Nancy Drew books at a state dinner. These are just a few. Breaking news! There's been a bear sighting at North Pole Badger Road and Fairbanks Herning Road, as I was saying. These are just a few examples of many showing how hard to be a first child. So before we pass judgment, we should be sure to investigate ourselves first. The saying, don't judge someone unless he walked a mile in his or her shoes, appears to be very accurate indeed.
Bug-sized drones. Did you know that Japanese researchers have made bug-sized drones that can pollinate plants? This may be necessary for the future because bees and butterflies are getting low. And without them, fruits, vegetables, berries, and nuts. Aeromayako created the robotic bees. Bees are not currently near extinction, but some are low on numbers. Mayako's drone bee looks like a tiny cross-shaped helicopter. It's only an inch and a half long. He used horsehair to make the legs, and he used sticky gel he once made by an accident. Mayako's bee is remote control, but the other thing is they still have to try it outside.
Now to education. In August of 2013, a police squad of about 20 officers used a battering ram to break into the Wunderlich home as the family was beginning their first day of homeschooling classes. They forcefully took their 4 children ages 17 to 14 out of their home without letting the family even say goodbye. The parents' only offense was homeschooling. Dirk and Petra afterwards asked the authorities if they could leave Germany and move to France, but their request was denied. When the officials returned the children, they required them to attend a school that was government approved. In addition, they are now homeschooling without backlash and remain in legal uncertainty. Dirk and Petra submitted a final appeal to the ECHR last week asking them to protect their right to homeschool their children. Home education is still banned in Germany. The ECHR has recently agreed to review the family's case labeled Wunderlich versus Germany. Previously, court rulings in Germany have been supporting the ban on homeschooling, arguing that education is a state responsibility. How often do we reflect on our freedoms in America and are thankful for them?
The great tragedy in South Sudan. John Dayu remembers last morning in childhood village. That morning, he and his brother helped his father with the cattle. They waved their mother goodbye. A moment later, an explosion shook. Shooting went through the village. Dayu watched a man fall dead. Other children and Dayu fled into the forest. Dayu was separated from his family and village. Dayu didn't know he was part of a group called the Lost Boys of South Sudan. 30,000 children who trekked 1,000 miles across terrain finding refuge in Africa. In the 1980s, they tried forcing Islamic laws on Christians, which are the Southerners in Africa. Northerners in Africa killed 2 million people and drove 4 million from home. Christian agencies offered medical aid and tried to rescue Southerners who were kidnapped during the government raids. In the 1990s, U.S. State Department imposed sanctions on South Sudan. U.S. government began sending aid to Southerners. George W. Bush became president. Second day in office, he ordered high-level staff to find a way to end war in Sudan. Dayu knew nothing about what was happening in America. At that point, he was in a refuge camp. He remembers he was praying to Jesus, saying, "I know you are here. I know you are good." Dayu didn't give up finding his family, but he learned that his father had died. After 11 years, Dayu and his mother reunited. His mother said, "I thought I would never be your mother again, but I knew God would be a mother for you." Part 2 of the tragedy in South Sudan will be on next week's YouTube
At
channel.
California's Lincoln Elementary School, the bell rings for lunch. Most of the kids rush to the cafeteria, but some run to the playground. Instead, they enter 3 stuffy trailers to hear people talk about Jesus. Some people call this the best unknown secret, a way to bring Christians back to the public school systems. Release time allows public school students to attend privately sponsored religious classes while on break during school hours. They first started this in India in 1914 and have been spreading through the other states since then. Not take place on public school property, or they cannot use public school teachers and no public funds. Most states need parental permission in order for their students to attend. Some even send buses to transport students to the church building after school. There are over 1,000 release time programs in the United States, with over 250,000 children from kindergarten to high school attending regularly. There are many different variations of the programs available, so that we can bring Jesus back to public schools.
Wildlife relocation. It's not Noah's Ark, but lots of animals are on the move. Conservationists have launched what they call Africa's biggest wildlife relocation. They will move 7,500 animals within 3 years to Mozambique National Park. The national park previous animals have been nearly wiped out by years of civil war and illegal hunting. Mozambique's neighbor, Zimbabwe, will give about 6,000 animals from single wildlife area, which include 100 giraffes, 50 elephants, 50 kudu, 200 buffaloes, 200 zebras, 900 impala, as well as 300 wildebeests. Other animals are being moved from South Africa. Numerous workers, including conservationists, ecologists, and veterinarians, are also truck drivers and helicopter pilots, will help in the relocation.
Okay. In today's world, it becomes more and more difficult to find books that have purpose and impact in our walk with the Lord. Every few weeks, we are excited to recommend a book that has been life-changing for us. This week, we are sharing about a book written by Katie Davis called Kisses from Katie. This book is particularly interesting for people who have a heart for missions. What would cause an 18-year-old senior class president and homecoming queen from Nashville, Tennessee to disobey and disappoint her parents by foregoing college, breaking her little brother's heart, lose all but a handful of friends, and break up with the love of her life, all so she could move to Uganda, where she knew only one person and didn't even speak the language? A passion to follow Jesus. Katie Davis left over Christmas break of her senior year for a short mission trip to Uganda, and her life was turned completely inside out. Katie, a charismatic and articulate young woman, is in the process of adopting 13 children in Uganda and has established a ministry, Amazima, that feeds and sends hundreds more to school while teaching them the word of Jesus Christ. The book has impacted me in so many different ways and was a direct answer to my
All
prayer.
we have today. See you next week. Same channel, same time. Reporting from the Live Alaska studio. KTN News, where the truth is revealed. Counting it all joy.